Good morning. Myself, Dr. P. Lakshmi Devi, Professor and HOD, Department of ECE, St. Peter's Engineering College. Today, we would like to cover the passive components and its connections and uses of these particular components in electronics. First, what are the passive components we are having in electronics? Means three components like resistors, capacitors, inductors. In the last video, already we come across the main components, materials, basically conductors, semiconductors, insulators. After completion of that particular topic, this gives you actually the importance of passive elements in electrical and electronic circuits. So resistor, capacitor, inductor. These are the symbols of resistor, capacitor and inductor. And how you are denoting this means with the letter capital R, C and L respectively, and drop across this particular components we are denoting with the letter V, and current flowing through the components with the letter I. So voltage drop across the resistor V is equals to, according to the Ohm's law, V is equals to IR, and current flowing through the capacitor I is equals to C dV by dt, and voltage across the inductor V is equals to L di by dt. So already in the last videos we come across the property of a resistor, similarly the property of capacitor and property of an inductor. So according to the properties, here we have defined the input voltage and current relationships of these passive components. That's the current flowing through the capacitor I is equals to C dV by dt, and as a student there is a chance to get a doubt, what's the voltage drop across a capacitor? Definitely, if we have integrated this particular equation, then V is equals to integral of, that is V is equals to 1 by C integral of I dt. Once you have integrated this equation of current flowing through the capacitor, then you'll get voltage equation V is equals to 1 by C integral of I dt. That's the voltage drop across the capacitor. See, in the inductor case, voltage V is equals to L di by dt is given, and current flowing through the inductor, if you want to know, again here we have to integrate this equation. Then current flowing through the inductor I is equals to 1 by L integral of V dt. So these are the formulas for current flowing through the components as well as voltage drop across the components. Coming to this, connections of these passive components in series and in parallel, how to calculate the equivalent components and equivalent resistances, capacitances, inductances of these components. Let us see in the first case, two resistors are connected in series, R1, R2, then equivalent resistance, if these two are connected in series, means sum of these two components, like equivalent resistance R is equals to R1 plus R2. Similarly, if these resistors are connected in parallel, equivalent resistance R is equals to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3. Then coming to the next component, inductors. In inductors, if two inductors are connected in series L1 and L2, equivalent inductance L is equals to L1 plus L2, and 3 or 2 inductors are connected in parallel, equivalent resistance formula is the same as resistance formula. Coming to the capacitors, it's different than resistors and inductors. It's the opposite actually as compared to the resistors and inductors case. Capacitors, if they are connected in series, the equivalent capacitance C is equals to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. This is actually in case of parallel resistors and parallel inductors is equivalent to the formula. In case of capacitor, equivalent capacitance of series connection of capacitors is 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. Coming to the parallel case of connected capacitors, its equivalent capacitance C is equals to C1 plus C2 plus C3. That is summation of capacitors, if these are connected in parallel, is equivalent to equivalent capacitance. These are series and parallel connections of components. So connections and sources in general, how we are denoting in the circuits, and its importance, it's very essential to know at this particular stage of introduction classes, as well as before entering into the technical subject of electronics and communication engineering. So ground, how you are representing means this is actually the notation for the ground in the circuits. Without this ground connection, you shouldn't draw at any cost the circuit diagram. So we have to mention at somewhere else this particular ground connection. So that ground connection refers to a 0 volts. Then node. Node means a common point connected to 3 or 4 branches. More than 2 branches if connected at a point, that particular point will consider it as a node in the circuits or networks. Voltage level, the same everywhere on the node. From this node to the reference, the voltage appears to be the same. In the sense, these are connected at a single point. So that particular point we'll call it as node. More than two branches meet at a point, that particular point will consider it as a node in the circuits. Then see voltage source. Already in the last introduction videos, I have given information regarding this voltage sources and current sources. There are two types of voltage sources and current sources, that is practical and ideal. But here, instead of representing the practical and ideal cases, here showing in the two different ways, that is dependent and independent. Independent voltage source we are denoting with this particular symbol or notation with this circle plus and minus signs, and dependent voltage source with this particular diamond shape with the plus and minus. Similarly, current sources also independent and dependent. Independent current source denoting like this, and dependent current source with this diamond shape inside with the arrow indication. Then circuit connections in general involved, because as a first year past students once enter into the second year will be having so many doubts regarding to the circuits, and once you feel this is a difficult subject means definitely it appears to be difficult. If you concentrate well on this particular subject, it's very easy subject, and that too this is a basic fundamental subject for electronic students. Now let us observe in this R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, R6. For 6 resistors and 2 sources are there. One is voltage source and the one is current source. These are independent voltage and independent current sources. So what's an equivalent circuit of this one means, here ground connection is connected to these 3 branches at a point. Instead of that, we can connect like this. The remaining circuit is as same as the first circuit diagram. Then Kirchhoff voltage, Kirchhoff laws. There are 2 types of Kirchhoff laws. One is Kirchhoff voltage law and the one is Kirchhoff current law. The sum of voltages around any closed loop is 0. That is, sum of voltages in a closed loop is equals to 0. That is a Kirchhoff voltage law. Whatever the loop here will consider, either outer loop or inner loop, or this loop or this portion of loop or this portion of loop. Whenever there is a closed path exists, if you have applied this Kirchhoff voltage law, sum of voltages around in a closed loop is equals to 0. That is the meaning of Kirchhoff voltage law. And here we are showing any of this closed paths will consider as a loop. But if you calculate the voltages drop across this each and every component in a loop, it leads to 0. This example, just if you observe, this one is 2 volts and this one is minus 1 volt, and this F didn't mention any voltage across it, and this one is VH. So in what way we can write the equation in this particular loop or this particular loop and calculate the voltages and satisfy the Kirchhoff voltage law. If you observe this, suppose let us consider a particular circuit. First AB closed path. Here the current direction showing like this. That is, always current flows from higher potential to lower potential. In this also we are observing current flowing from higher potential to lower potential. So wherever the current enters, here it's marked in this particular polarities of the components plus and minus. If the current flows from positive to the negative, the voltage drop across that component is positive. That is plus VA. And whenever coming here, the current flows from negative to the positive here in this particular B component. That's the reason here the drop across this particular B component is minus VB. So plus VA minus VB is equals to 0. That itself indicates the drop across A component and B component is same. That is VA is equals to VB according to this mathematical relation. This is the way to write Kirchhoff voltage law and justify this equation of VA minus VB is equals to 0. That leads to VA is equals to VB. Now coming to this another circuit diagram here. Here voltage source of 10 volts and here another voltage of 2 volts is there. And whenever this from this particular voltage source current flows like this, and here actually the current divide and flows in this way. But in this particular example, we are denoting the current entering into this branch of 20 ohms as I1. I1 is flowing like this, and while coming to this particular node, definitely the current divides like this, because here also actually the current divides. That means amount of current entering to the node is equals to the amount of current leaving from the node. So I1 is equals to I3 plus I2, and here in general if you have denoted any I4 or something else. Like this, the current equation like a Kirchhoff current law to be satisfied. But here with the applying of KVL only, we would like to verify the voltage drops across the components in order to satisfy this particular Kirchhoff voltage law as well as Kirchhoff current laws. These are different circuit. My intention of showing these circuit diagrams here is for understanding of Kirchhoff voltage law notations and Kirchhoff current law notations. Coming to this Kirchhoff current law, that is sum of currents entering to your node is equals to sum of currents leaving from your node. Any node if you observed in this particular circuit diagrams, once if you consider this the node, and currents coming to this node is this current as well as this current, and currents leaving from this node is this as well as this. That is sum of currents meeting at a point is equals to sum of currents leaving from a point. In this way we can define Kirchhoff's current law. Based on this, mesh analysis and nodal analysis are there that we would like to have in the network analysis subject. Okay, this is actually the general concept for writing a Kirchhoff voltage law equations and Kirchhoff current law equations. These particular formulas are very important to remember. By applying KVL means sum of voltage drops in a closed loop is equals to 0, or algebraic sum of voltages in a closed loop is equals to 0. Algebraic sum of voltages in a closed loop is equals to 0 is a KVL, and sum of currents meeting at a point, that is sum of currents meeting at a point is equals to 0. That is sum of amount of currents entering to a point is equals to sum of currents leaving from a point. That is actually equation of Kirchhoff's current law. Coming to this Kirchhoff current law, just here we specify these two components are connected in series. Always current flows, same current flows in series components, and same voltage appears in parallel components of connection. So same current it allows to flow through the series components of A and B here. So amount of current flowing through the A is IA and amount of current flowing through the B is IB. But because these two components are connected in series, so IA is equals to IB. Coming to this examples, of course, here I have shown you already. I1 is splitted here as I2 and as well as I3. And here actually to be considered, here also some current allows to flow based on the resistance offered by this particular branch. Accordingly, we are going to write the equation of I1 is equals to I3 plus I2 plus, suppose here if you have I4, here as I4. Okay. Now, those are the current sources as well as KVL and KCL equations pertaining to a particular circuit diagrams we come across. Now, if you have applied any steady state sinusoidal inputs, and how you are calculating the impedances offered by the steady state sinusoidal inputs, like alternating currents, like AC, we'll call it as in general as AC. So in this impedance means it's a combination of resistance and reactance. It's a combination of resistance and reactance. What are the different reactances? Means one is capacitive reactance and the one is inductive reactance. So in general, those two reactances we are representing as capital XL is an inductive reactance suffix of L. Capital X suffix C is capacitive reactance. So resistance and reactance combination is termed as impedance. So impedance is, suppose if there is no any capacitance and inductance, if you have only resistance, that ZR is equals to, we are denoting with the R only. That is Z, in general, Z impedance is equals to R plus JX. That X indicates reactance. If X is 0 means then ZR is equals to only R. That is, impedance is a complex quantity and resistance is a real quantity. So that's only the difference between the resistance as well as impedance. Impedance is a complex quantity, means it's a combination of resistance and reactances. In phase, that means current flowing through this resistor and voltage drop across this resistor. In what way the phase difference appears in between the voltage and current in case of resistor means, so let us observe these particular waveforms here. This is voltage with respect to the time as well as current with respect to the time plotted on a single graph. That is, just if you observe, I of t is red color indicates the current waveform and blue color indicates the voltage waveform. If you observe this voltage and currents meeting at the same point here, that itself indicates there is no any phase difference between this resistance and between the current and voltage in case of resistor. That is, in resistor, voltage and currents are in phase. This is an actually point should remember forever. Voltage and currents are in phase in case of resistor. That is frequency invariant. Frequency invariant means, is there any chance to increase the frequency, but there is no question of changing the voltage and currents appears across the resistor and flowing through the resistor. That is, V and I of the resistor should be same. It's a frequency invariant. So with the changing of frequency, it won't vary the drop across the resistor, it won't vary the current flowing through the resistor. That's the meaning of frequency invariant. Okay. Then coming to this capacitive reactance and inductive reactances. In general, impedance, I told you, it's a combination of resistance and capacitance. But here you can observe, first capacitive reactance. If that reactance is appears R plus JXC. If inductive reactance appears R plus JXL. That's the notation for capacitive reactance and inductive reactances. Now let us see here. Only capacitive reactance is present in the sense that is denoted with the ZC is equals to 1 by J omega C. 1 by J omega C, this is the reactance of the capacitor. So just if you observe these waveforms, current flowing through the capacitor is denoted with the I of red color. Voltage drop across the capacitor is denoted with the blue, with V of t with the blue color in the waveforms. If you observe these two waveforms, so current flowing through the capacitor and voltage drop across the capacitor, it's having some phase difference. In case of inductor also having some phase difference, that is voltage lead in capacitor, current voltage current lead in capacitor and current lags in inductor. This only the difference between the capacitor and inductors. Coming to this impedance in series, impedance in parallel. Of course, same resistance in what way we are calculating of series resistances and parallel resistances. The same thing here also happens. Series impedances and parallel impedances. Z1, Z2, Z3 are connected in series with the voltage source. So equivalent impedance, Z equivalent is equals to summation of these three impedances like Z1 plus Z2 plus Z3, that is sigma I Zi is Z equivalent. Then coming to the impedances in parallel case of sinusoidal responses like AC input if I have given, then Z1, Z2, Z3 are connected in parallel, then Z equivalent is equals to 1 by Z1 plus 1 by Z2 plus 1 by Z3 is as same as the resistance are connected in series as well as in parallel. The same way we can calculate in case of impedances also. If connected in series, equivalent of Z1 plus Z2 plus Z3 sum of the components. If connected in parallel, 1 over of 1 by Z1 plus 1 by Z2 plus 1 by Z3 and so on. These are the equations for impedances in series and in parallel. Coming to this Kirchhoff laws, already given Kirchhoff voltage law and Kirchhoff current laws, but here I would like to specify current I1 is equals to, that is sum of current entering to the node is equals to current leaving from the node. I1 is the current entering to the node and I2 and I3 are leaving currents from the node. So I1 is equals to I2 plus I3. And then this is the closed circuit again. So sum of voltages in a closed loop is equals to 0, or drop across the elements in a closed loop is equals to the supply voltage. Both are same for satisfying of Kirchhoff voltage law. That is supply voltage is equals to sum of the voltages drops across the components in a closed loop. That is V is equals to V1 plus V2 plus V3. These are the notations for circuits while drawing the mesh equations as well as nodal equations. We should follow the same principle of KVL and KCL. So series RC and series RLC circuits, that is suppose RC are connected in series, RLC are connected in series like resistor, inductor, capacitor. These are the notations of a series connections of 2 components and 3 components of alternating currents as an input if I have given. RC are connected in series in the first circuit, RLC are connected in series in the second circuit. But how you are calculating the drop across the capacitor and drop across the resistor with respect to the input voltage source VI in the first case, and similarly in the second case also, we should know how to calculate the drop across the each and every component based on applying of input voltage VI and calculating the drop across the components of capacitor and inductor as well as resistor. Accordingly, based on the output component where we are considering the output voltage, accordingly the output voltage equation gets varied with respect to the input voltage of VI. So, the main concepts in this transfer function evaluation and characterizing a circuit and frequency response curves of these particular components, let us observe in this case. Transfer function 2-port networks. So, 2-port network means which consists of input port. Port indicates 2 terminals at the input side, 2 ports at the output side, that is 2 terminals at the output side. So, that indicates port 1 at the input, port 2 at the output. That 2-port network means 1 1 dash 2 2 dash, or input terminals 2, output terminals 2. These are general notations of 2-port network. We have so many 2-port network parameters also. This particular information also will get in general in network analysis. Like we have actually subject of network analysis and transmission lines in this particular semester itself. There will get these concepts of 2-port networks and 2-port network parameters. In that, Z parameters, H parameters, transmission line parameters, Y parameters like admittance parameters, H parameters. These are all we have. Of course, in this particular subject of EDC, we will see H parameters. The remaining all the parameters of 2-port networks we have in network analysis and transmission line subject. Okay, let us see here. Input voltage VI of t is equals to, because it's an AC voltage, that's why representing with its amplitude as well as phase. Like A in cos omega t plus theta in. In general, A in cos omega t or A in sin omega t we are representing without having any phase. But in general, if it is having phase and it should be considerable, means we have to represent omega t plus theta. that is theta in indicates input phase of the input voltage. So input voltage Vi of t is equals to, that Vi of t denotes with respect to the time we are calculating this or we are observing this input voltage. That's a one-dimensional representation of the signal. So Vi of t is equals to A in suffix, that is the input amplitude of the waveform, cos omega t plus theta in. Okay, angular frequency we are denoting here with the omega with respect to actually the time. Omega t plus theta in. Is, theta indicates the phase difference. Okay, similarly, output voltage, how you are denoting for this two-port network? V naught, that is naught indicates output. V naught of t is equals to A out, that is the magnitude of the output voltage waveform, A out, cos omega t plus theta out. Theta out indicates output phase of, output waveform phase difference, theta out. Okay, these are the input and output equation notations in the two-port networks of AC equivalent circuits. And transfer function, each and every two-port network have its own transfer function in the frequency domain that we are denoting with the h of omega. That is, h of omega is actually the transfer function of this two-port network. That is the notation for, or that is in that way we are denoting the two-port network transfer function h of omega in terms of this angular frequency omega. So, in what way we can correlate or write the relations between input voltage and output voltage with transfer function means h of W V in is equals to V out. That is, input voltage multiplied with the transfer function is equals to the output voltage. That's the meaning of this equation. Now, what is V in and V outs here? V in terms of phasor notation we are representing V A in at an angle of theta in. V naught is representing V A out at an angle of theta out. That is, h of W A in at an angle of theta in is equals to A out at an angle of theta out. In the phasor notation, in terms of its magnitude and phase, we are representing R at an angle of theta. That's the meaning of A in at an angle of theta in case of input voltage, A out at an angle of theta out in case of output voltage. So, A out in what way we are representing based on this particular equation means A out is equals to h of mod of h of omega into A in. That's the magnitude formula for calculating of A out. That's a mod of AW into A in. And phase theta out is equals to at an angle of h of W plus theta in. At an angle of h of W plus theta in is theta out, magnitude A out is equals to h of W into A in. These are the fundamental formulas for the two-port networks. Just you have to remember the relations lies in between input and output voltages with its magnitudes in the phasor notation related to the transfer function of that particular two-port network. Coming to this, a summary of simple circuits. Here it needs some calculations. I'll explain these particular things on paper later, but here I haven't that provision to explain for you. But drop across the capacitor, drop across the resistor. Accordingly, the formula gets varies. Now transfer function h of W is equals to, based on the drop across the capacitor, first you have to write the equation and taking the KVL, applying the KVL to the circuit and evaluate the output voltage, and then transfer function h of W is equals to. Already in the last equations we come across h of W into A in or V in is equals to V out. The similar way, A in is equals to A out. So in the similar way you have to evaluate and transfer function of these particular circuits to be done like h of omega is equals to 1 by 1 plus RC j omega. Okay, in this only two components like resistor and capacitor we are having. That's why reactance of the capacitor 1 over of j omega c to be considered for calculating of voltage drop across the capacitor as well as the total impedance of the circuit. Okay, voltage drop across the capacitor. Already in the last circuits we come across I is equals to current flowing through the capacitor. I is equals to C dV by dt. Okay, voltage drop across the capacitor in the sense V is equals to 1 by C integral of I dt. First you have to write the equation. Drop across the capacitor V is equals to, like in this case, V naught is equals to 1 by C integral of I dt. Okay, 1 by C integral of I dt is actually the voltage drop across the capacitor. Then by applying of KVL, first write the KVL equation like V in is equals to, that is the input voltage given to the circuit is V in, and drop across the resistor plus drop across the capacitor is equivalent to the supply voltage of V in. So by applying of KVL, V in or VI in this circuit, VI is equals to drop across the resistor as Ri and drop across the capacitor as V naught, that is V naught is equals to 1 by C integral of I dt. In such a way, first you have to write the equation. Okay, then in this particular equation, just you have to apply. First, V in is equals to have written and then apply because integral term is there. Just you have to go for differentiation of the circuit, then simplify that circuit and evaluate based on the previous formula what is transfer function of this particular circuit. H of W is equals to, then have this particular formula 1 by 1 plus J omega RC. Okay, similarly, if you interchange the places of capacitor and resistor and calculate the drop across the resistor as an output voltage of V naught, then same formula it will be applicable, but output voltage V naught formula is V naught is equals to IR only. So accordingly you can calculate the transfer function H of omega, then you will get H of omega is equals to RC J omega by 1 plus J omega RC. Okay, these are the transfer functions of two components connected in a circuit with alternating currents. Similarly, if three components are connected in a series in an alternating current supply like AC supply, then in what way we can evaluate the transfer function of three components, means similar formula have to apply based on output considering across the component would like to have some changes in its final formula of output voltage and similarly transfer function of the circuit. Here we are observing the similar case of first, like output voltage across the capacitor C naught, that is V naught across the capacitor of C, that is V is equals to 1 by C integral of I dt, that is V naught formula. Okay, that V naught plus drop across the resistor is IR plus drop across the inductor V is equals to L di by dt. So in place of drop across the inductor, write L di by dt. Now we can have the equation totally in terms of I, that is output voltage, that is input voltage VI is equals to Ri plus L di by dt plus 1 by C integral of I dt. Okay, these three components equations we have in drop across the resistor plus drop across the inductor plus drop across the capacitor, which is equivalent to input voltage VI. This is by applying KVL we have written this equation. Then simplify this equation and evaluate by applying of above formulas. And what is the transfer function? H of omega is equals to, then we have 1 by, because here in this particular circuit diagram we are having two reactive components like resistor as well as capacitor. Because of this, second order equation gets generated here, that is omega square term is there. So omega square means j omega into j omega will get j into j is equals to j square, which is equals to -1. That's the reason in this denominator we are having minus omega square LC in its finalized equation of transfer function. By applying KVL, then you can evaluate what is H of omega is equals to. Then you have 1 by 1 plus 1 minus omega square LC plus j omega RC. This is the equation for three components are connected in series. Okay, these are summary of simple circuits and evaluating of transfer function of these simple circuits by applying of. Now, so here we have defined already what's the transfer function of for the two-port networks. How we are denoting the transfer function. What's the relation lies in between input voltage, output voltage with respect to the transfer function, and with the simple circuits, how to evaluate this transfer function we observed in today's class. Okay, then how we are going to draw the responses, that is the frequency responses of these transfer functions. Just you can observe here this magnitude plot as well as angle plot. Like this, we are going to plot these two types of graphs. That is, one is called magnitude, that is mod of h omega is actually the magnitude plot with respect to the omega angular frequency on x-axis. Similarly, angle plot, that is the angle of h of omega versus omega, that is with respect to omega on x-axis. So angle of h of omega on y-axis with respect to omega on x-axis gives angle plot. Mod of h of omega on y-axis and omega on x-axis gives magnitude plot of this particular transfer function of h of omega. So here linear plots and Bode plots, differences we can observe in this particular question. So frequency responses in general, for the last evaluation of transfer functions of the circuit diagram, h of omega is equals to, while taking the drop across the capacitor, we have 1 by 1 plus j omega RC. And evaluate what is the magnitude of this particular transfer function and what's the angle of this transfer function. That is, mod of h of omega is equals to, like you know, mod for x plus jy for complex notation of signal or complex notation of transfer function. How to calculate the magnitude in the sense square root of x square plus y square. Like x plus jy means the magnitude of that is square root of x square plus y square. Similarly, mod of h of omega is equals to 1 by square root of 1 plus, what is an imaginary term here? J omega RC. So 1 plus j omega RC whole square, that is 1 square plus omega RC whole square. Okay, this is the formula for magnitude of transfer function h of omega. Coming to the angle of the transfer function, at an angle of h of omega is equals to minus tan inverse of 1 by minus tan inverse of actually real term by imaginary term. So with this we have minus arc, either minus tan inverse or minus arc tan arc or arc tan off, like that also we can represent. That's the meaning of here. Minus a is a arc tan, that is a tan inverse. Okay, real part by imaginary part. Okay, real part by imaginary part. Real is then actually the real part by imaginary part. 1 plus imaginary by real, that is the RC omega by 1. Okay, in that way we have actually the angle of h of omega. So these are the general evaluation of transfer function and its magnitude and phase angle of transfer functions. And while plotting this magnitude versus omega, phase angle versus omega, we'll call it as actually the frequency responses and phase responses. So if you observe in this circuit response, let us observe in the first case, we are having a waveform with VI is equals to cos 50t plus cos 800t. That is the omega, that is the angular frequency varying from first signal to the second signal. First signal angular frequency omega is equals to 50 given. For the second signal, omega is equals to 800 given. So by combination, by clubbing these two together, like the sum of these two signals gives an actually input waveform in this way. Input waveform is appearing like this. Okay, 800 omega, that is a frequency where omega is equals to 2 pi f. Okay, f is actually the frequency. If frequency is larger, time period is very less. That's why internal, that is here it's showing actually internal time period is very less for this 800t waveform, and time period is very large for 50t waveform. In this way, just we can differentiate two signals with the combination of addition. Okay, suppose if you have given that particular signal as an input to this RC circuit, where we are observing the output voltage across the capacitor and input is Vin, then how we have an actual output voltage? This is an output voltage waveform V0, that is V of t is equals to, with respect to the time, this is an actually the output waveform. How we'll get this output waveform? How we are going to evaluate the equation of this output waveform means, let us see. Once if you observe magnitude and as well as angle curves here, that is responses, magnitude versus theta and angle versus magnitude versus omega and angle versus omega, that is the frequency plots, that's the magnitude versus omega, and phase plot angle versus omega. So with varying of actually with the different omega values, and we are observing the magnitude. Let us observe in this case. And here let us see in what way we will get this particular equation of V0 is equals to 0.95 cos 50t minus 20 degrees plus 0.13 cos 800t minus 85 degrees. If you observe this particular plots itself, we will get that information. How? Let us see at 50t, that is, this is actually the omega on x-axis. At 50t means I will show you in the, okay. Okay, linear plots, just of course in this video it's not possible to go back, then again recording it appears to be waste, the first recording appears to be waste. I'll show you for 50t means, that is 50, suppose omega is equals to 50. If this is 200, this one is 100 and this one is 50. If 50 if you considered and extend this here, this is at an approximation, this is 0.9, this is 0.95, the magnitude is 0.95. So that's the meaning of for 50 for 50 omega, the magnitude is 0.95 in this 0.95. Similarly for 800, this is 800, for 800 this one, and here it's showing at an approximation, this is 0.1, this is 0.13. Okay, that magnitude is 0.13 for 800 of omega. That's the representation. And the angle plot, if you observe, angle plot, that is at similarly omega of 50, and this is an actually 100, this is a 50. If you observe 50, here we have minus 20, this is minus 20. At 50 we have minus 20 degrees. At 800 we have minus 80 degrees at an approximation 80. Okay, so this is the way we can observe the output equation with respect to its magnitude and angle responses, or you can say the plots. The similar thing we can express in case of Bode plot. Bode plot, we can have the magnitude maximum value of 0 with normalization, and similarly for angle magnitude is all angle maximum value is also 0. The remaining all the values are a negative on magnitude axis. Similarly, an angle axis also starts with the 0 and having remaining all the values are negative. And this one is we'll call it as actually the semilog graph sheet we have, and this 10 power 0 for every 10 values of variations we're having frequency on angular frequency on x-axis, that is a decade, that is 10 power 0 indicates 1, 10 power 1 1, I mean 10 power 1 is 10. So here 0 1 2 3, like this particular frequency indicates on this semilog, semilog is 10, then 10 power 1 to 10 square, it's an actually 10 to 100. 10 to 100 means each line indicates on semilog graph sheet is 10 with the 10 variations, 10, 20, 30, 40 and so on, 90, 100. Then from 100 to 100, I mean 10 cube is the next indicates, like 10 square means 100, then 200, 300, 400 and so on 1000. This is the semi-log graph sheet on x-axis. After normalization, once converted that into the dBs, we have a maximum value of 0, the remaining all the values are negative. In this way, if we have plotted this magnitude and angle, then these are called the Bode plots of first order characteristics. First order characteristics means resistance in combination of only one reactive component will consider that particular circuit or that equation as first order equation. For the first order equation, if we have plotted these characteristics, this is an actually, this will call it as actually the Bode plot with its magnitude versus angular frequency, angle versus angular frequency. Okay, that's the difference between linear plots versus Bode plots. Coming to the Bode plot of RLC circuit, like second order equation. First order equation means consists of only one reactive component. Second order equation means it consists of two reactive components like capacitor as well as inductor. In this case, already we come across that the transfer function evaluation h of omega is equals to 1 by 1 minus omega square LC plus j omega RC. This is the equation of h of omega. So in this magnitude and angle, magnitude versus angular frequency, angle versus angular frequency, if we have plotted, this is an actually Bode plot for magnitude and angle. Okay, Bode plot of RLC circuit under damped conditions, Bode plot of RLC circuit over damped conditions. These are actually we are not having in the EDC subject, but as a part of frequency responses I am covering this. In order to know the difference between linear frequency responses versus Bode plot responses, or linear plot versus Bode plots. So a frequency response is a plot of transfer function versus frequency. The frequency response can be used to determine the steady state sinusoidal response of a circuit at different frequencies. In the underdamped case, whenever we are having the underdamped, there will get some peak at its frequency magnitude response that indicates this is an underdamped case. But this particular waveforms I'll explain you with pen writing on slides in the next class. Okay. Similarly, angle for underdamped case, this actually the waveform plot indicates angle versus angular frequency, indicates the same for underdamped as well as over.